Hi, Emma.
Hi, Chrissie.
Okay, I'm super excited. No, I'm genuinely excited. So, Emma is running an amazing workshop, which I've been begging her to do for absolute months, right? I'm like, you need to just do this workshop. But quick little backstory, met Emma at a pole dancing class, and I was like, hey, you're friends with my friend. And we sat in Starbucks for like 4 hours or something, and we just ended up talking everything, mental health, moving, breakup, expert stuff. And I was just like, when you meet someone and you just filled with just energy, like Emma, I met you and I walked away with so much more energy. My cup was full, as I like to say. And it was just so inspiring. And I was like, we are going to be friends. We're going to work together. Something's going to happen. This woman is in my life now for a reason. So I'd like to just welcome you and thank you so much for having a chat with me. Would you like to
Oh,
introduce yourself?
yes. Thank you so much. And also, just like going back to the first time that we met in Starbucks, I felt exactly the same. I mean, we just spoke about everything within that short space of time, and I remember thinking like, I feel really energized, and I had all of these like ideas buzzing around my head about how we could like work together maybe at some point. And so yeah, I just want to say like that was definitely how I felt as well in the moment, which is just great. But yeah, thank you so much for bringing me on for an interview and giving me an opportunity to introduce myself to the group because I haven't been able to make any of the in-person events yet. So this is just like really lovely to be able to do this. But yeah, I'm a integrative fitness and mindset coach based here in Bangkok. I moved to Thailand 2.5 years ago, roughly. And yeah, I've always been working in fitness and health. Maybe I think we're coming up to nearly 10 years now in various different roles. Um, and when I came to Thailand, I just wanted to pick up my personal branding and business again because I missed being able to do that in the UK. So it was my opportunity, and it's been a roller coaster,
Yeah.
but here we are, and I'm loving it.
Yeah. And you know what I love about you as well? Because I tend to find in Thailand, there is lots of people that are very holistic and it's like yoga and meditation. And I love that. I think it's really nice to have the spirituality. But I think for women, I think I really, really connect with women who have some fucking fire. And you have some fire, you have this kick-ass energy that I really relate with. I don't know why, maybe because I'm from London, maybe because of, I don't know, whatever, but there's something in me that's like fire and you're just like, yeah, let's punch it out, let's do this. And you're not ashamed of this energy, you are just embracing like, this is what makes me a woman, this is what makes me human, and it is here, and I just fucking love it. So
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and likewise, I believe there's a place for everything, and I think it's great that there is so much healing, let's call it, activities out here, like the yoga and the sound bowls, and I think there's a place for that, absolutely. But for me personally, I could never connect in the right way for that. So utilizing that as a tool for things like stress management, emotional regulation, it was never my jam. I couldn't. I was just the kind of, I need to just deal with this right here, right now, and just, I want to feel like a freaking badass again. And, I think for me, like I've been through a few things in my lifetime that have very much taken me into kind of victim mode, victim mindset. And the only way that I could pull myself out of that was, embracing badass.
yeah.
So yeah, this is how I, like to incorporate it into my coaching as well.
Yeah. No, yeah, and I remember hearing your stories about how you coach people, and I'm just like, oh, this is brilliant because as a therapist, I'm like, I can't be your everything. One huge part of therapy is like, yeah, this is therapy, but you also need to have other things. You need to have other outlets because we
Yeah.
can't just suppress things, like when people are like, oh, something really bad happened, but it's going to be fine. It's okay. Like almost that passive aggressive British thing, or like, I trust the universe. And like inside your vibrations or whatever you want to call it is not trusting the universe. And actually, you're really pissed off. I think you need an outlet for that, whether it's through sport or some physical or freaking writing a spoken word, whatever it is. I think sometimes we need that energy out there, right? And
100%.
yeah,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
important. And yeah, I wonder if you can share a little bit about your story as well. Maybe about when you first came to Thailand and what happened and what sort of propelled you into where you are now.
Yeah, it's been a whirlwind. It's
Yeah.
been, am I allowed to swear on here? I just want to make
Fuck
sure.
yeah. Why not?
Okay, okay.
You know.
It's been fuckery. Yeah, it wasn't the best. So I actually came here with a fiance of 6 years.
Mm,
Um, I'm not going to pretend like everything was super sweet before we came here. Actually, I think we believed that the move would help our situation, which was, I see now wasn't, the healthiest of viewpoints or reasons to move. Um, but yeah, it's so I was in Phuket originally, and things were going okay. But I would say maybe about 6 months into it, it was kind of really difficult to get work, much harder than both myself and my fiance thought it would be. And the realization hit where we need some fucking money.
yeah.
you know, like it's been very lovely, being by the beach, but so these were like additional stresses that were then being added into this paradise lifestyle that we thought that we would have moving here. So, we had like previous things going on, and then now we had additional problems with like the realization of beach life not being quite what it was in our minds.
Yeah.
And I think that whole like combination, plus exploring this completely new way of living, this whole new culture, just started to like break the relationship down step by step. And so we actually, we always wanted to move to Bangkok, but we stayed in Phuket a little bit longer because we enjoyed it. When it came to the time of getting closer to moving to Bangkok, that was when I would say, first split. Things were just not right. It was different. Like the energy of the relationship was different. We weren't connecting in the way that we used to.
Yeah.
And so my fiance actually called off the relationship. And this happened 3 days before we were supposed to move to Bangkok. So I
Oh,
was left with an ultimatum of I gotta fucking find somewhere to live
yeah.
in Phuket or wherever, or go back to the UK.
Yeah.
For me, going back to the UK wasn't an option. Um, so and then just like going to Bangkok, I was like, what's the point? So I did this like desperate search to try find somewhere to live in Phuket. It was very stressful. It was literally like a couple of days.
Yeah.
But also I didn't have much money by this point because I had drained pretty much all of my resources. And so my partner was holding us both from the financial side.
Yeah.
So that was very stressful. And then the day before my ex was going to leave, we had another chat, and he believed that he had made the wrong decision. So we spoke about it, and we said, you know what, let's just try and make Bangkok work. So we came to that decision, moved to Bangkok. I think honestly, like I don't know how right this is, but it's how I remember it. I feel literally 4 or 5 days into moving to Bangkok, shit hit the fan.
Yeah.
And
Cool.
it was I just didn't see my ex or my partner at the time. I just didn't see him. Like he was out all the time. Um at business meetings, like lunch meetings that would go on into the evening. And this was happening a lot more, and it was the reasoning was, well, this is how you do things in Bangkok, which I understand is true to some extent. It's, the boozy lunch meetings are definitely a
Yeah.
thing out here. But yeah, so we these were all like the more warning signs that were happening. And then I don't know, I think it got to a point where I felt more lonely in the relationship
Yeah.
and I would have been not in the relationship.
Yeah.
You know, it was just me and the rabbit that we had at the time that I was looking
Yeah.
after. You know, I'd just go to bed and put the bunny away. And this happened every single night almost, where it was just me going to bed on my own. And I felt so lonely. And
Yeah.
I didn't have anyone out here. I hadn't had chance to connect and make like solid friendships, especially not in Bangkok at that point.
Yeah.
So it was really lonely. It was really tough. And then that got to a point where I had to have that chat with myself. And I was like, Emma, you are so unhappy right now.
Mm.
What are you doing, girl? You know? And I brought up the conversation then with my ex to say, or my partner at the time, to say, this isn't working. Like this, I'm not happy. This just isn't working anymore. And he agreed. And so then we agreed to separate.
Yeah.
And it was really stressful. It was horrible because we're looking at a 6 year relationship. We were engaged. We'd already gone through so much in the UK. To come to that decision was not easy at all.
No.
It was the right decision. It had to happen,
Yeah.
but it was not easy.
Mm.
And I was under so much stress. I my body, I started having a period. Now I don't get those because of the birth control that I'm on, so I haven't had a period for, I don't know, a long time, years, right?
Yeah.
I had this like 2 week period that was
Wow.
just all purely from the stress. My hormones were crazy.
Yeah.
I was crying every single day. Like I was just devastated. And again, I had no one to speak to. You know, I could talk to my family, but then there's the time difference problems.
Yeah.
There's only so much that they could do. And I don't know about you, but when you're like booing your eyes out, talking to someone on the phone is really, really difficult.
Yeah.
You
Yeah. Because you can't even get your words out.
know? Yeah, and it's like, oh yeah, let's do a video call. And you know, I don't know, it was a barrier for me
Yeah.
to,
Yeah.
and I was like, do you know what? I'll just cry the night out and I'll phone you tomorrow, you know, and then I would never phone and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So yeah, my introduction to Bangkok at least was very difficult. And then because we split, financially, I was still in a very bad position. And, you know, I'm talking like barely nothing.
Yeah.
So my partner and, well, my now ex at that point, we decided to still live together for a bit because, you know, there was just nothing else I could do.
Wow.
And again, going back to the UK wasn't an option for me because I came here to make this work, right? So for me, like, it's not that I saw going back to the UK as defeat or failure. It was more like, I want to experience life out here. I want to make it work, you know? Um, so we lived together for about a month, and that was difficult in itself because then he started questioning, when am I going to move out? You know,
Yeah.
I'm starting to, you know, explore other relationships, which was a dagger in the heart because I wasn't over it yet, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I was under, I knew it was the right thing that we needed to do, but I wasn't exactly over
Yeah.
it yet. So again, it was at the point where I was like, I've got to move out of here for my own well-being. You know, I have to remove myself from the situation. So I eventually did, got my first ever place of my own. Um, and that felt it it I don't know. I don't want to say it felt amazing. It was quite sad because I felt forced to be
Yeah.
there. So
Yeah.
that apartment to me was a forced apartment and it
Mhm.
was stunning. You know, I had like this rooftop pool and everything. Like the facilities were incredible because I said to myself, you know, get what you can with the money that you've got.
Mhm.
Um, but I wasn't excited by it, you know. I was trying
Mm.
to fulfill something. Um, and yeah, and then I guess over time, you know, eventually things got easier with the breakup.
Mhm.
But I'm a people pleaser for sure. But I also just want to help people all the time. And
Yeah.
sometimes I do it when it's not actually a good move for myself. Like it can have an effect on my well-being, but
Yeah.
I'll still help the other person.
Yeah.
So, my ex was having like a pretty hard time and he would want to meet up and, still stay connected. He still wanted us to be friends. And
Yeah. Of
I guess
course.
I kind of allowed that to happen.
Yeah.
But then it got to a point where he was starting to see other people
Yeah.
and he would meet up and he would want to talk to me about these other people and get relationship advice.
What the?
And I'm laughing now because I'm like, what was I thinking? But I would meet up with him for evening walks and I would give him relationship advice.
Wow, how dare he even ask you? And it must have been so confusing for you as well because you see people, you get like a reaction like, I love this person, or this person is safe, or something about you or who you are when you're with them. And then they're asking you stuff which hurts. So there's another part of you that's constantly getting kicked in the stomach or in your heart. And it's just, whew,
Right, but I didn't acknowledge that, and that
yeah,
was my biggest learning curve is that I didn't acknowledge that it was hurting me.
yeah,
I kind of parked my emotions. I put them in a box and I put them
yeah,
on a shelf
yeah,
every time I would meet him. So I call it kind of flatlining. Like I would never feel excited. I would never feel sad. It was just very neutral.
yeah,
So that was how like I approached every situation. But what I didn't realize at the time is that every single one of those moments where I would meet up and put on this like brave face and be like, no, I want to help you, is that it was chipping away at me and my
yeah,
well-being every
mhm,
single time.
yeah,
And that went on for such a long time until there was more lies and sort of more relationships. And it wasn't actually until January this year, the start of this year, when I realized the importance of boundaries, and I hear about boundaries all the time. I even talk to my clients about boundaries with, finding time for themselves. But it was the first time I realized the importance of setting a boundary with someone like an ex,
yeah,
and saying whatever emotion you're feeling right now, however much you want to see that person, you've got to really analyze how much it's affecting you and, is it really worth it or not? So I finally realized that and set the boundary that I just said, we can't meet up anymore. And I stopped replying to the messages. I would give like one answer replies and not give it an opportunity for a response back. And then gradually over time, stop talking less and less. Um, and then we would go months without speaking. And then finally, I was able to be at peace with everything and the situation.
yeah,
But it took a while. It took a
yeah.
while.
And what was the point? So it was chipping away at you, always meeting up with him, putting him first. What was the point where you said, I can't do this anymore, this is enough, and you like start change the one-worded answers?
You know what? It was this video. So it was New Year's Eve, and everyone was making reels about, the best time of the year before, right?
Yeah,
And he had made this reel. Um, and I was in there as part of it, but then so were these other ladies. But actually, that didn't isn't what annoyed me. What annoyed me the most is that when we were split but living together, he had gone away for a weekend trip, and he said he was working with someone, and he was staying with this guy, this rich guy. He was like putting him up or whatever. And I remember when he was away, he had posted a photograph of him in these like glasses that were very feminine looking glasses. I was like,
mm,
oh, and I brought that up and I said, oh, those are very feminine, glasses.
yeah,
And he was like, oh yeah, it was the bar girl's glasses, the girl
hmm,
behind the bar. I was just having a laugh and trying them on. And I was like, all right, okay. So I remember specifically questioning at that point, was he really with the guy that he was speaking of? And my gut knew something was happening, but I didn't listen to it. I brushed it to one side, and I was like, "Me being paranoid again."
Yeah.
Um, and I always knew that I felt that way about that event. You know, that I had something, some kind of feeling. But again, I told myself that I was being paranoid. No, he probably was with that guy. It wasn't until I saw that reel. The photo that he posted was actually a half of a photo, and the full photo was included in the reel.
Wow.
And it included the girl that he first started seeing after we split, the girl that he wanted relationship advice about.
Yeah. And your gut told you that. It knew.
My gut knew that something was happening that weekend
Yeah.
that he hadn't. Now we were split at this point anyway, right? But for me, again, when like the boundary had to be set, was I was for me, I was like, he's still continuing to lie to me even
Yeah.
though we're not together. That
Yeah.
is a huge disrespect.
Yeah.
And I said, you know what, in a relationship, things happened, whatever, but he's continuing to disrespect me.
Yeah.
And that's when I set the boundary because I don't ever want to be disrespected.
No.
You know, I know that
Yeah.
things can happen in relationships, people can fuck up, you know, have too much to drink, cheat, you know, these things unfortunately happen. But it's when it's that level of disrespect where they can lie to your face,
Yeah.
and even when you question it, still lie. That was the moment that I says, no, Emma, you
Yeah.
know, why are you still giving someone your time when they just don't respect you
Yeah.
at all?
Yeah, and that's good to
Mm.
know that you value respect, and it's so important to just suddenly to sometimes just stop and listen to our gut, because a lot of times we can be like, oh well, I'm a people pleaser, so I'm going to continue to see this person and help them because I'm a good person or because of this or whatever, and we haven't checked in with ourselves. But if we just stopped and we checked in and we were like, what's happening? Oh, I feel quite sick, or I feel quite exhausted, or we listen to the reactions in our body, you would hear the tiniest, quietest voice inside of us saying, I'm not happy. Stop. This isn't making me happy. I feel rejected, in pain, uncomfortable, disrespected, whatever it is. We just need to listen so carefully, but most of the time we don't want to, because it's
Yeah,
easier to pick to be around people that make us comfortable, in a sense that they're familiar. And we all need stability. I was talking to someone about stability the other day. And for me, things that are stable in my life are like my dog, and having home baked cereal, and having walks, and like really random stuff. But it's stuff
mm,
that I can have in the UK or Hong Kong or Thailand. It's stuff that I can continuously take with me. And we all need that. We all need somewhere where we feel safe, at home, people we can rely on, because connecting with people is so important for humans as well. So sometimes that one person, even though they're hurting us, and like, even in Phuket, you were like, I knew something's not right, the energy's off, we're fighting all the time, this isn't right. But your mind and body was like, but we need something familiar. We need something just to stay grounded, or we might feel like we might shoot off and spin upside down and end up in limbo and never be grounded again. So sometimes we hold on to the things that aren't right for us, and to understand that that's okay, that's really understandable. But what can we bring into our life which is stable? And what I find so empowering about you, Emma, as well, is that so many people would have gone back to the UK because they would have known, like, I have stability in maybe a family member or a friend, or going to the local park, or something that makes me feel safe. But you were like, nah, fuck it. We're going to make Bangkok work. What have you got in store for me? What can I bring to the table? What can you do for me? And I think that's such an incredible decision to make. That's so powerful that you chose that.
yeah, and it was scary as fuck. Like
Yeah.
I had nothing. Honestly, I had nothing, and I had to ask the freaking mom for some money, and I just I'm a 30 something year old. I shouldn't be having to do this. You know, my pride was kicked to the pavement. But I don't want to say I'm grateful for what happened, but Bangkok has been the biggest growth spurt that I have had in my personal development because I have faced challenges and been pushed out of my comfort zone
Yeah.
and been given some serious ultimatums that, I have also given me the opportunity then to challenge my personal growth. And if everything was super comfy and fine and going my way, that would not have happened.
No.
So I'm not like grateful for, all of the sort of emotion and the roller coaster and the stress that I've been through.
Yeah.
But I am grateful that I've had an opportunity to grow as an individual
Yeah.
from it,
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, the financial situation, that again, continued and still continues to be fair because my job is very, up and down. Like I don't have the set kind of income each month,
Yeah.
as most coaches have. So it's always still kind of been a struggle.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, like, the past couple of months, I was thinking about this the other day, and I was like, I'm really not actually anywhere better off than I was when I moved into that first apartment after we split. At
Okay.
the minute, we're kind of like in that zone again, but my mindset is very different.
What's
And
different?
a lot of people kind of who I'm close to who understand my situation are like, "How are you so calm right now?" And I'm just like, "It'll work out.
It'll work out.
It'll work out. Something
Yeah.
will work out," and it always has.
Yeah.
you know? And it's crazy because I don't want to sit here and say, do you know what, everyone, if you've got no money whatsoever, don't worry about it because just trust the process, you'll be fucking fine. That's not the message I want to send out. But there is definitely this, I don't know, like I'm a worrier. I overthink things, right? And that's what I was doing before. I would panic, and because I would panic, I wouldn't do anything. I would just
Mm.
sit in um either this like depressive state or this stressed state, right? And I wouldn't be able to take any action. Whereas now I'm kind of like, we're going to be okay. We have to change a few things. We have to figure a few things out. We have to get a little bit creative and a bit clever, maybe, but something will work out.
Yeah. How did you learn that? Something.
Um, I think, to be honest with you, I think a lot of it was mainly because of just being forced through scenarios, of where I didn't have a choice.
Mm.
I had to believe it was going to be okay. I didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
Um, so a lot of it was very forced because
Yeah.
I'm NLP trained. Like I've done that. I'm really big on mindset, neurolinguistics, language of the brain.
Mm.
But even then, um, sometimes in those situations, you can't sit down and just say, okay, we're going to logically think about this and this and that. Sometimes the emotion is too much and it's too overwhelming and
Yeah.
it's difficult. Um, so for me, it was forced. But because I had gone through that, I then learned that, okay, this is an option. Like actually deciding that everything's going to be okay is an option. I have that choice. My
Yeah.
external factors I don't have control over, but how I view that, how I
Yeah.
decide to take action on that, the choice that I make on that, that is in my control. And
Yeah.
that's the difference.
Yeah. And that's such an incredible shift.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And you just reminded me of something else. When we first met, I was asking you about, I don't actually know how this came up, but you were saying that sometimes you have clients that come in and they have such a shit week and they have a shitty boss who's done really bad things and they come to you. And well, I don't want to, you tell your story, but how do you help these people regulate after they've had a shit week?
Um, Again, it's kind of this like badass mentality, right? Because again, it doesn't work for everyone. But I get to know my clients really well, like on a personal level as well. So I kind of know like who responds well to things and who doesn't.
Mhm.
But I work with a lot of executives, business owners. A lot of my clients are in the corporate world, so they have that like corporate stress that
Hmm.
that they have at like the end of the week or end of the month or whatever. And if I, sometimes they'll come in and I'll always check in. I'll always say, how are you today? How is everything? And they're just like, oh, I've had a shit day today. My boss is blah 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 blah, and then I got these emails and blah 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 blah. And like they're so pent up, like their energy is just like they're about to freaking burst, like they're so tense. And I'm like, sometimes I'm like super chill and they come to me like that and I'm like, whoa. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, well, you know what you're gonna go do? You're gonna go pick up that really heavy slam ball over there, and you're just gonna slam the fuck out of it. Just I don't actually swear with my unless unless I know that I can. But yeah, I'm just like, you're so revved up right now. Um, you just need to do something with that adrenaline. Now, if they weren't there for a fitness class, maybe I wouldn't be saying that. Maybe I would be saying, and pause, it's very much dependent on the situation, right? But actually they've come to me because they want to have a workout.
Yeah.
They've come to me because they need to work on their fitness. So the way that I see it is, okay, how can we utilize all of this stored up adrenaline
Yeah.
and actually use it to benefit you throughout this next hour,
Yeah.
right? So I keep them with that for the majority of the session, and I just get them on battle ropes, I get them slamming things, I get them lifting heavy.
Yeah.
And so not only is that an outlet for this like built up adrenaline, um, it's badass mode, right? I'm
Yeah.
like, you got it, give it, and they feel powerful and they're strong because they're pushing heavy weights.
Yeah.
And so, they're feeling very empowered and they're regaining that sense of power and control again that maybe their boss who spent an hour yelling in their face took away from them. So I give them that power back from, well, they gain that back through physical activity. Um, and
Brilliant.
then obviously before they walk out the door, we then also have to, okay, let's do some cooling down. Let's do
Yeah.
some, breathing just to
Yeah.
bring the cortisol level down again. But yeah, that's how, physical activity can really help with being an outlet for that type of emotion.
Yeah, and it's so important because sometimes you are really pissed off and someone's been belittling you all day, chipping away at you all day. You're not good enough. Oh, I can't do my job, can I? Like, whatever it is, you just have these just like stressful days. Everything's gone wrong. You didn't finish your emails. And on top of that, like, the kitchen sink broke. I don't know. So sometimes you're so angry. And if that happens to me and someone goes, let's just take a breath, I'm like, fuck off. Honestly, fuck right off. So
Yeah,
again, even when people come to me with that in therapy, I'm sometimes like you, I'm like, yes, let's use this big ball of like energy and let's freaking look at that and let's do something with it. Because
right,
I
right.
like pushing it down. Are you kidding me? No. So yeah, and I love that. And
Oh,
you said
no.
something else to me as well, that you said something like someone wanted to give, like when your clients want to give up, you're like, and they're like punching or something, you're like, you know, think of your boss. Like, I don't know, you said something like, how much did they
Yeah,
this week? And then it gives them this like boost. And I love that. I'm like, yeah. So sometimes I don't even know if you remember telling me this, but sometimes when I'm doing hard things, I think of you. And I'm like, yeah, you kind of been that angry because you can just keep punching it out. Yeah. So
oh,
that's
I thought
why.
you meant like you were thinking of me and you're like, yeah, I'm gonna hit her. I'm like, what?
She's too successful and beautiful and doing amazing things. Fuck you, Emma. No, I didn't mean it like that.
They were lovely compliments, thank you.
Ah. That's so
Yeah,
funny.
it's funny. Yeah, literally just last week I had this one client who she's had a really stressful time at work, but the main like CEO was coming to visit, right? And she's like, oh, he's coming in, and he's gonna like he's gonna just mess everything up, and I'm not looking forward to it. It's gonna be, and she was like, she would barely work out because she was focusing so much on and she would stop. She would do that thing where like she would stop And then 5 minutes later, she would like pick up the conversation. So I knew that there was something, like it was still all up in here, you know, it was very much like taking over her mind, this guy, right? So yeah, so we got the slam ball, you know, it's obviously like this round, like weighted ball. And I mean, I don't know, like, I know some people would say that this is really not the best approach, but I just said, all right, this ball right here, that is the CEO. All right. Do with it what you want, you know? And she said, oh, it's his face. And, you know, so I know some people would be like, that's not okay.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
again, it's kind of it's all done in a jokey way, right? It's not like we're not actually going to go out and actually hit anyone here, and you know, we're not going to go murder anyone, but it's kind of just like this kind of we're finding some enlightenment. We're having a laugh with what
yeah,
is like actually a very stressful, very fucked up situation for her.
yeah.
And you know, if she can find it, sometimes like just trying to think positively doesn't cut it. You know, just trying to think, don't worry, positive thoughts, like I'm sure it'll be okay with this year. It doesn't, sometimes that doesn't work. So if we can find a way to laugh still about that situation by joking about, you know, the slam ball being someone's head, then so be it, you know?
Yeah.
Because she left that session feeling better about the situation and less stressed.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And something else that you did with that moment is, so I do a lot of somatic work. I'm always like, what's happening in the body? Because I believe that the body has the quiet voice and stuff like that. Well, it sounds to me like she was working out, but she was in her head. So there was a disconnection between her head and her body. And what you did was like giving her something that she could take out of her head, connect it into her body. And sometimes just by connecting the brain and the soma, it can just already put us in more alignment. It takes it out of our head, it puts it into a physical force, and it gives us power, autonomy. Because in real life, maybe she can't really do anything. But in this moment, right here, which is all that matters, you can do whatever you want. You have that power. You can release it. You can smash it. You can do whatever you want. You can just hug it and be like, you know, you are a mean person, you're really mean to me because you're unhappy and your marriage is broken, whatever it is, that
Yeah.
just gives you the opportunity to have your own autonomy and just gets it out of your
Mm.
head and releases it. So I think that's hugely powerful.
Yeah, and honestly, like this is why strength training is so great for this kind of stuff as well, right? Because it's I think of strength training as being almost like a form of mindfulness, right? Because you're focused, you have to focus so much. Like when you start lifting with like barbells and heavy weights, you have to really focus on what you're doing, because
Yeah.
if you don't, that's when, you know, big risk of injury can happen. That's why we have everyone sign waivers to say there is a risk of death because you
Mhm.
know, lifting heavy weights, right?
Mhm.
So it's almost like a form, it really is a form of mindfulness where in that time that you're working out, you're just like, you have to be laser focused. But with that, kind of like running as well, right? For a lot of people, when they start going for a jog or running, just their head just starts going. And they go into the, like just really deep thoughts, deep thinking. A lot of people have their most like creative ideas when they're running because they just go into like the zone, like the
Yeah.
runner's zone, right? And it's very similar with strength training. But with strength training, not only are you sort of unlocking that part, you're also unlocking the other part, which is the very empowering emotion
Yeah.
that you get from strength training, and being able to lift heavy weight and push through, and you know, really building on that mental tolerance. So you're dealing with and being very mindful of, you know, the situation, but then you're also um, opening up that powerful sensation that you have as well, like that self-empowerment. So I think that's what makes it so great, is that you are connecting the two together in that time.
Yeah, incredible. And it's, yeah, also just being in the present is just so powerful in terms of
Mm.
like just focus. Our body likes being in the present. If we're in the past, well, the past is gone and we're ruminating on it. If it's the future, it can be more anxiety thoughts. like we're always thinking about the future and stuff like that. So anything that brings you to the present, our body really likes it, our brain really likes it, our nervous system really likes it, even if it's painful.
Right. I watched a TEDx talk this morning with my coffee actually, and there was a quote in it. I'll probably post it at some point. And it was if you are worrying about something that has already happened in the past, you are wasting your time.
Mm-hmm.
And it it's something that we hear before, like, that we shouldn't, always be worrying about the past, right? It's already happened. We can't do anything about that. Like, we cannot change the past, right? What's done is done. So if you're worrying and spending a lot of time worrying about something that has already happened that you cannot change, you're wasting your time. And I think that's quite powerful because it's very different from um, acknowledging something that's happened, right? It's we're talking about worrying about something that's happened. So worrying about not being able to fix something or change something. Um, and and it's so true, like, because we can't change it. So we are wasting time worrying about it. What we've got to do is think about acceptance. And I think the more that we think about acceptance, the more we can then look at how to move forward from something.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, you know what, that happened. I have to accept that that has happened, and I have to accept that I cannot change that now.
Mm-hmm.
But I can do something about the next day or the next week or the next year.
Yeah.
So what am I going to do? What am I going to do with that? You
Yeah.
know?
Who do I want to be?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and it again puts that autonomy back in you, because sometimes when bad things happen to us, it wasn't our fault and we didn't deserve it. And when situations do happen where it has an effect on someone's self-worth, right? Where suddenly that happened to me, maybe I deserved it, my fault, whatever it was. Sometimes just doing things that help us value ourselves is not enough. It's really good. Like, I always get people do, like, what things are you good at? What resources do you have? Like, I like to look at stuff like that. And sometimes it's like, but I still don't feel good, or I still don't feel like I deserve this. So sometimes, like, in therapy, we might do something like, if you do get a chance to do, I know, if you do have a chance with a particular type of therapist, you might do something like doing timeline work, where you see the needs that weren't met at the time and what could you have done. Because when you get that feeling again, because the feeling comes with you, but in different scenarios, like, what can I give myself in that moment to protect myself? Or now I'm an adult, what can I give myself to, like, calm myself down or move forward, or know that I value myself now? And or sometimes if something's recently happened and I find myself really pissed off about it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that person did that. I would never do that to someone. Why would they do that? If I find myself doing that and I keep going, just let it go, just let it go, just let it go. Sometimes, just like trying to push things down, I might set a timer on my phone and be like, right, you were going to think about this for the next 5-10 minutes, put a timer on. And every time my brain, which it does, I've got ADHD, goes off into something else, I'm like, no, be angry, be mad, because that person sucks. They did a really
Yeah.
shitty thing. And I will make myself think about it until I'm so bored of hearing it. It's out of my system as well. So those are some of the things that I can do to help me get through that, and come with acceptance of, you know what, they are a prick. That's it. There's nothing you can do about it. Move on.
Yeah. And like you say, it's even when, like, really shit things have happened to you that were brought on by someone else, that weren't brought on by you, like really life-changing stuff, right? Um, Even then there has to be a level of acceptance in order to move forward. To not to accept, it's not, and that's not like disempowering. That's not like you saying like accepting like what someone said was true. It's not that kind of acceptance. It's the acceptance of not being able to change what has happened in the past.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you're right. Like, you have to be able to acknowledge something. And by acknowledge, that's not just like think about what happened in the past. It's really acknowledge what what has it done to you in your life? Like, how has it changed the course of your life, that happening to you? And identifying that. So acknowledge, identify, and then accept, and then move forward. Like, I feel like these are really powerful kind of, steps. And then how you do that and what tools you use and resources that you use is different for everyone. Like you say, some people will take up talking therapy. Some people will have sound healing. Some people will go to rehabilitation. There's whatever like resources you need is different for everyone. But I think that from a mindset point of view, those kind of steps are really powerful for moving forward.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And sometimes, oh, sorry, I was listening to what you were saying. I should have something to say. When you're listening to someone, you forget what you're going to say. That's good.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
good. That means I was listening. That's good. Yeah, I think I was just going to say, um, oh, it's gone. Never mind, it will come back.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, yeah, I love that, and just accepting. Oh, I know what I was going to say. So also sometimes someone has wronged you in the past and they've taken away that moment for you. They've made you feel really crappy. They've literally taken something from you, and that's happened. And like, I get sometimes people come to therapy to work on themselves, and they're moving on from maybe a narcissistic relationship, or whatever it is. And then in our sessions, we still, instead of working on them and like doing all the things that I want to do, really, like, what do you want in life? What are your dreams? Like, let's build on that. They're constantly giving their time still to this person, which is okay. But I'm like, wow, you're spending a lot of money talking to me to still be giving that person energy instead of giving energy to yourself. And
Mm.
I think sometimes, like, knowing your worth as well, like, who do you want to be? I want to be someone who's respected. I want to be someone who has value. Okay, well, time is also valuable. Even if I did 3 sessions, like, wow, you're spending a lot of time talking about this person who wronged you instead of just, moving forward and focusing, what do you want in life? This person doesn't deserve your time any longer.
Mm, mm. Yeah, exactly. And being able to being able to vision where you see yourself, in X amount of years or whatever
Yeah.
is really powerful. And does that person have a place there or not? You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
as the person they are, not the person you want them to be, not the
Right.
change
Yes.
they say they're going to do, not single when they're married, not, whatever it is. Like, no,
Yeah.
the person they are today, can you see them in your life? Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So before we run out of time, I would love to, could you just tell people about the workshop that you are holding especially for us?
Yes, I'm so excited about it. So it's gonna be on Saturday the 15th at 9 a.m.
July, yeah.
And all the details are already there anyway, right? We've already shared those. So, but this class is yeah, so it's called the Power Up, and the idea is that we are recharging and powering up three of the basic human needs, right? So physical energy, right? Because when we're trudging through life, or trudging through like a moment in time, or event or experience, not only are there emotional symptoms, but there's also physical symptoms. So a lot of the time we can feel like very fatigued, exhausted, and then that's the kind of day where we just want to get on the sofa and hide away from the world. And then we kind of get wrapped up in this cycle then of hiding away and feeling crappy. So it's about really charging up that physical energy, right? Um, and then, but then with that, there's also there's got to be the responsibility of emotional regulation, right? So it's great to like really charge that back up again, but then also from an emotional viewpoint, let's say as well. I don't know if that was the right word. It's charging that up as well, and it's bringing the body back to well, or as close to homeostasis as possible, right? So cortisol management is about 15-20 minutes at the end of the session, just to bring back down the stress levels. And then because it's a group class, we're also charging up the social side of things as well, which I know myself and other expats that I've met out here, it can be, they say like Bangkok is a huge city, but it can be a very lonely city, as big as it is. So just to be able to do group activities and to have this kind of like energy all in one room, you know, physically, emotionally, socially, that is like the main purpose of this class, is just to fire and power up all of that. Now the class itself, it's going to be a VIT class, which I don't know if many people have heard of this. So in a similar way to HIIT training, high intensity interval training. Oh, hey Poochie, sorry. Got excited by a little fluff ball there. It's variable intensity interval training. All right, so what that does is it means it's not a class that is just like bam, 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 bam for like the whole entire time. It actually works on the 3 energy systems. All right, so you have one maybe high intense exercise, followed by one intermediate moderate, followed by one low intensity exercise. Okay, so that's how it's kind of like planned out. It goes through those phases. So yeah, so the class will start out like that with a VIT class, and then we'll have 15-20 minutes of relaxation. So that is going to be a combination of some breath work, but then also some body scanning. We're going to do in that as well. So if anyone wants to bring their own mats as well, I would highly recommend. There are a few available, I believe, but if you have your own mat, then do bring that along. And then yeah, just doing that with a group of people and see how you feel, right? Because you brought up a really great idea, Chrissie, of having that check-in before the class, of, you know, seeing how you're feeling in that moment before the class, and then doing a check-in afterwards to see how you feel afterwards. You know, exercise, it's well known that exercise releases endorphins. It's a real great mood booster. But the type of exercises that we do, the combination of the strength, body weight strength exercises that we're going to do in there as well, it's going to be really great for just having that, again, that really empowering feeling, and then that sense of achievement for making it to the end of the class, not passing out, right? Yeah. So yeah.
And what about for people like me, that I would be a little bit nervous coming to your class because I feel like you're such an incredible badass. Like you are just so strong, you're so incredible. And I would feel like, oh my God, I'm not going to that class because I couldn't keep up with you. So what can people like me, a little bit afraid, do to show up?
All right. Well, first of all, I'm called em.powercoaching for a reason. Right. When I first got into all of this, I was very intimidated by the gym. I was very intimidated by exercise. I hated it. I called it like the lion's den whenever I had to go into the gym, because it was just masculine men throwing weights around, you know, and so first of all, I want to say I've come from a place of also being very intimidated by gym environments. So I didn't just like get straight in, you know, badass mode, like you know, whatever. And to be honest, I still get a little bit intimidated by some gyms out here. So I just want to like clear that up first of all, that what I'm actually really passionate about is supporting people to get out of that comfort zone and to start really getting into fitness and embracing this type of fitness into your life. And the reason why I'm so passionate is because of how much it transformed my own life, right? I used to be very shy. I'm still a little bit shy in certain situations. I know you're shaking your head because we've had this chat, but I am like, I
Yeah.
actually have social anxiety, right? But it's very, for me, it's very dependent on the situation, right? So yeah, at the class, I'll probably seem very like confident and blah 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 and outgoing. But put me in a room where I have to do an icebreaker and tell you what my name is and my favorite hobby or something, and all eyes are on me. I'm blushing bright red, girl. I cannot hide it.
Yeah.
I'm sweat down the back. My voice is breaking. My palms are sweating, blushing like mad. Um, so yeah, I still struggle with it, and I that's why I'm really passionate about this because fitness is what has helped me, to transform through that. So if anyone is in that position right now and thinking, I don't know. Like, I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if I want to like go to that kind of a class. I have so much compassion for that. Like, I have got all the time in the world to listen and to support with that. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing. That's why I'm so fired up and passionate about it because I want to support that, you know. As much as I want to welcome in anyone who's already at badass level, um, I'm also like really passionate about supporting anyone who's like not feeling like that. And from like a physical like fitness point of view, that's why we're doing VIT, variable intensity training. So it is mixed ability. It's for so whether you're completely new to exercise or whether you're advanced exercise, this class is suitable for everyone. And at the end of the day, as you will hear me shouting a lot in the class, all I really want, all I want from you in that class, or all I hope that you can give yourself in that class is to just show up and give it what your 100% is. All right. You're not what the person next to you is doing, not what I'm doing at the front of the room. Give it what you have got that day because no one's there to compare. We're not seeing it's not a thing about who's more fitter than the other person or who can hold a plank longer than the other person. You're not there for anyone but yourself. So you just show up, you give it what you got, no one's judging, no matter what, I'm there to like help support, push push the bound not push the boundaries, but push the barriers a little bit, to challenge. Um, but at the end of the day, you get from that class what you want.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know why you just when you said pushing the boundaries. So my things are mirrored, but I just wrote this out today. It was a quote that I saw on my friend's Instagram ages ago, and it got me off my phone because I have a problem with scrolling on social media. I get really hooked into scrolling. Yeah, I'm gonna go on a yeah whatever. But so this quote is the only thing that's got me off my phone, and it said, "Playing it safe and small may feel comfortable, but it won't bring you closer to your dreams. You need to go all in." And for
Yes.
me, again, going back to the people pleasing, my dreams is to help empower other people. So I'm like, well, you can't empower other people if you're watching other people empower other people on social media. So for
Yeah,
me,
for
I'm like,
sure.
God, get off your phone. Yeah, it's not about me. It's not about me putting myself out there and wondering if I'm going to be accepted or feeling awkward or dealing with my, social anxiety or whatever. It's about helping others. And I see that in you as well. Like I see you on the It's Okay page and people, or even on the Frangirl page, and people are like having a hard time. You're there. You're like, hey, if you want to chat, I'm here for you. Hey, this happened to me. Do you want to have a chat? Like you're always showing up for people. You're so genuine and compassionate. And it's just every time I see your name, I just know it's going to be warm support. And it's such a gift from you because you have literally broken through Bangkok like a phoenix, you've come from the ashes and you've just driven yourself through. And what you're doing is incredible. And I just want other people to gain from that as well. And yeah, so thank
Oh,
you.
bless you. Oh, I'm feeling that. I'm feeling that love. Thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, yeah, again, like we share that same passion of just, wanting to empower others, maybe because of, experiences that we've gone through. And I think that's what kind of makes like the best coaches and the best therapists. It's not the ones who have, gone and just like read out of a textbook and I mean, let's think there's so many like personal trainers here in Bangkok, right? But the difference between what someone needs from a coach is whether that coach has been through an experience themselves, you know. And I think if when there's that level of um understanding, that's a real key player when it comes to getting support, is being able to understand the journey, not know and like, you know, fully kind of like know everything that going someone's going through, because you know every experience is unique, but to have some level of understanding with that, you know.
Yeah. So sorry, Rocky was barking, so I put my phone on mute. There he
What
is.
you doing,
You're
you little.
barking. You're interrupting Emma.
That's okay. I've got time for that type of interruption.
Yeah. So I have a question for you. If you had to only give one piece of advice for anyone struggling with mental health right now, what would that advice be?
Talk to someone.
Talk to
And
someone.
I know I feel like that's so generic. I'm annoyed at myself for saying that a little bit, but I I don't think there's any better advice out there. I mean, there's so many different things that we can do. But if we're talking about the one most powerful, um, life-changing piece of advice when you're struggling with mental health, talk. Because it's so easy to go into that dark hole, right? It is so easy to get on the sofa and pull the blanket over your head and just snuggle into yourself and give yourself like a little cuddle and let the spiral down. It's not until you talk to someone and you share that with someone that you can actually start to see things from or hear things from other perspectives, you know. And the thing is that if no one knows, and this is the sad thing with mental health, because if no one knows what you're going through, no one can help you. And that's why I'm really like I really am passionate about that message of just talking to someone, finding someone, whether it's someone you know, family member, friend, whether it's a complete stranger sat at a bus stop, whether it's the dog, right? You know, it's just being able to speak about what is going on in here and getting it out of here and to someone else, because it's very difficult for anyone to help you if they don't know that there's a problem. And that's the sad reality of mental health. And, you know, a huge reason for why there is a lot of unfortunate suicide, because, again, you know, sometimes close family members don't know about an individual's problems. You know, it's the whole like, yeah, I call it poker facing. You know, there's different levels of extreme to that. You know, we can all poker face to some extent throughout the day. For example, if the boss is being an asshole, and we poker face and we're like, okay, sure, you know, and then go home and like, fucking asshole. You know, that's poker facing. But then there's also, you know, this reality that you could be completely tearing apart inside and putting on a brave face to everyone that you know, because whatever reason, maybe there's shame, guilt, you know, everyone has their own reasons for that. Um, and if you do that, then yeah, how is anyone going to know that there's anything wrong, and how can anyone reach out to you? So you have to find it, and it's definitely easier said than done. You know, me saying here like, oh, just talk to someone is not that easy, but I just hope that um people can do that, you know.
Yeah, and sometimes when you are feeling so low, you literally hibernate, and it's the time that you need to reach out to people and you don't reach out to people. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like, no, this is the time you need. And just having those, like creating those close connections with people, having people that you know you can depend on, having people that you don't have to put a mask on and be like, yeah, I'm fine, thanks, how are you? Because that drains our energy. How about having people around where we're like, I'm actually having a shit day, and they're not trying to cheer us up, they'll just sit with us and be like, okay, well, you can have a shit day and I'm here with you. Like finding those
Yeah.
connections, those stable people, like you said, whether it's someone you know or someone you don't know. You know, I'm lucky that always have I have a therapist, and I don't just go to him when I'm having a shit time. I go to him and I'm like, oh yeah, I don't really have anything to talk about this week, but and then we'll just some magical stuff happens because when two people are together, there is a connection and something is bound to happen. And I love that because when I am having a shit day, I can just go to him and I'm not going to bullshit him and be like, oh, you know, it's like, no, it's a really shit day. And something about
Yeah.
which I found at the It's Okay group was people coming saying about how they're having like a really tough time. And me thinking like, yeah, everyone goes through that. And they didn't know. They didn't know that there's four other people in the room that are going, oh my God, me too. And
Yeah.
I think sometimes when you hear I'm not alone, that is the most feedback we get. It's not about what I do in the workshops. It's not about the material that you learn. It's not about the things we do. It's about hearing me too. I'm not alone.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That
Mm-hmm.
is fucking powerful because we
Mm-hmm.
heal in community. That is how we heal. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know we haven't really touched on it much. I don't know, maybe it's like a whole interview in itself, but I know that you already know about like my previous eating disorders. So I had bulimia, and that was 6 years I lived with that. 6 years I had bulimia. Not one person, apart from a partner at a time who I kind of had to tell, um, knew that I had that. No one. No one knew it. And they call it like the dirty secret because you feel very ashamed when you're going through something like that. You feel like there's something wrong with you. And that's how I felt for 6 years. I was like, what, there's something wrong with me. Like I'm abnormal. Like no one else does this. Why can't I be like my friend who's just, you know, she just seems so normal. And that was it. Like I didn't feel normal. And because of that, I didn't dare speak to anyone or tell anyone about what I was doing because I saw it as just being um, stupid, almost childlike behavior. That's how I viewed it myself during that time. I know now that that was, not the case at all. Um, but that kept me quiet, for 6 years. Not even my own mom knew, right? And luckily, well, actually, it took it getting to quite extreme place and a complete breakdown during a lecture at university at the time that someone noticed then there's something not right with Emma, and they referred me to the on-site campus therapist. And it was only then that I then got referred, and things started to happen. But until that point, I kept it quiet, and that's the dark. Oh, that's the darkness of mental health, is that it can be so secret, can be so secret, and then because of that, it can be life threatening.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And, and it took someone else noticing in you and sending you to someone and just having that initial conversation with someone. And I think sometimes when you say something out loud to somebody else, it instantly takes away the shame. Like we
Yeah.
can be like,
Yeah.
don't tell anyone. And it's like this huge thing. And maybe it is a huge thing. But somehow when you tell someone and you get support, it doesn't feel so big. And I think I mentioned to you in the past, but with some trauma, it's not even the traumatic event which has long lasting traumatic effects on people. It's actually the response from the first person they told. So if someone says like, oh my God, this just happened to me, I don't know what to do. If someone says, oh no, they wouldn't do that. They wouldn't do that thing. And you instantly, no one's believing you. That can be almost more traumatic than the terrible thing that's happened to you. That feeling
Mm-hmm.
of shame. So sometimes it's like you can be afraid to tell people because you're like, it's already feels this big. If one person says, oh my God, that's really abnormal, you need to get help, it's going to break you, right? And
Yeah.
how are you supposed to know who is a safe person to talk to?
And then it leaves a stain, like you say, because then that's your experience that you've learned from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not like at school we learned about therapy. Like before,
No, no.
before I was a therapist, I was supposed to go to therapy. It was one of my conditions of being at university. They were like, if you come back to this university, you need to have counseling or whatever. And I was like, oh, I don't need counseling. Oh, please, that's for like whatever, like broken people. And I'm a strong ass woman. And I had this stigma about it. And I was like, no
Mhm.
way. And now I'm like, well, for fuck's sake, if only we all had a therapist in school that also doesn't just work on trauma and bad things, but also helps build your strengths and looks at how to make stability in your life and look for safe people and who to go to and who to avoid. Like, oh my gosh, I think everyone would have a therapist, right? But it took, like you, it took me to hit rock bottom, being in and out of hospital, for me to finally see a therapist, right? And it just shouldn't be like that. But unfortunately, it is. So I'm hoping that more open conversations like this will help people just be like, okay, it doesn't have to be a therapist. I can talk to my coach. I can talk to a manager. I can, and it is okay not to be okay.
Yeah. So the most important message, right? Um, Prevention over recovery every single time. Every single time. It's great that we have things there to help with recovery. But no, like we should always be working towards prevention. And I think there's a lack of that, because like you say, there's still stigma around certain resources, like therapy. A lot of people won't even seek therapy until they're already at burnout or, a very low, like depressive state in their life. Whereas actually, yeah, if we could just like switch that mindset around and think more about prevention and, trying to kind of like identify the areas in which we could probably utilize a bit of support to prevent getting to such and such a situation, um, the world would be a completely different place, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah. I was actually just having this conversation this morning about therapy and how people like treat it like A&E. I had someone recently that said, yeah, if things get any worse, I think then I'll go and seek a therapist. And I was like, oh my gosh, you're already having a terrible time. Like you don't want to wait till, like you said, burnout to like just go and talk to someone and just get things off your chest. Or sometimes you say things out loud and it just helps clear the air, release them, or something can be quite cathartic. And I'm just like, oh, why are you waiting until you're broken? Because then people come to me, they're like, wow, this is such terrible time, which is okay. I'm
Mm,
here for it. But it's like then they feel like sometimes they can feel like, oh, it's too heavy. Therapy is too heavy for me to deal with. And it's like, well, if you came sooner when you were in a good place, that's actually sometimes when the good work can happen because, some of the things I've worked on in therapy from my like teenage years or whatever, I can only do that now because I'm in a place of strength. I'm in a place of coming out the other side, having lots of stable things in my life, being like, I might wobble, but I'm not going to fall. Whereas if 10 years ago I did therapy, it would completely knock me off, you know.
mm.
So also sometimes we need to get people even to a space of just calm and let's just find resources that help us be grounded before we even look at the trauma.
Mm, mm. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Which is why, this group is so incredible that you've set up, and massive respect. I hear, a lot of people that I connect with in this group are always just saying how grateful they are to have stumbled across this group. So massive respect to you for doing this and setting it up, because I hope that you do know just how much of an impact it has created on the lives of especially expats in Bangkok, but just anyone who is struggling with mental health in Bangkok, because it is very difficult to find support for this out here, you know, cultural reasons, you know, also like just not understanding or being able to navigate resources. It's difficult. And now what you've done is you've provided this like platform or this space for people to access that level of support. And it's truly, I don't want to say that I love seeing like, you know, people coming in and sharing the stories. Of course, I don't love that. But what I love is that there is that they are able to do that. Does that make sense? Like, I don't want to say that I love hearing about like, you know,
Yeah, I
awful
understand.
experiences, but I love that people are utilizing it and the fact that they have a place to utilize it because and even just like with the anonymous being able to do the anonymous post, right? That is really powerful because again, as we just said, there is a stigma around certain things that there is sometimes shame, guilt that comes with um you know certain experiences, and it can be very difficult to talk. And so being able to, yeah, it's just providing like a space to be able to do that. And it's incredible. And it's really fucking life changing.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to like brush under the carpet or like brush over, like make it all like blasé because what you've done with this group is really fucking life changing for a lot of people. And you might not necessarily hear that from those who have gained help throughout this group because everyone, you know, if you want to have a private life, then you have a private life. Like you can be in the group without actually having to, you know, be present, right? I'm sure there's a lot of people in the group who are getting help just from seeing the posts and like you said, you know, having that kind of I'm not alone, someone else is going through this, but maybe they're not ready to talk yet, and that's okay because they're still getting that support. And what
Mm.
you've done with setting up that group is you've enabled that. So shout out to you, lady.
Yeah, and Jenny really actually. So it was two women who approached me about the group who were suffering, like not suffering, but were like, we need to have a space. And yeah, we all teamed up together and was like, yeah, let's create this space together. And we didn't really know what it was going to be, but as soon as it started, I knew that it was like, yeah, this I want just to get rid of stigma of mental health. I want people to have a space to be themselves. I want to facilitate healing. And I love Jenny's videos as well because they're completely different videos to what I would post.
Right. Yeah.
I just love that. And she always posts things that helps herself as well. And for me, it like kind of takes the weight off my shoulders a little bit too. But yeah, I just have faith that these things do help people, and that's why I keep showing up, even if no one replies to the WhatsApp message I've asked them, even if no one likes the picture or the video I've made. I'm like, wow, if this just helps one person, even in a year time when they're like scrolling using the search box to find what they want, what they need at the
Mm.
time, I'm like, okay, I'm just going to keep showing up because I think it's important because I know what it's like to feel just empty and alone and like have social anxiety and decide actually I don't want to go up. So even when I just get, 5 people, 6 people show up at an event, I'm like, wow, you all freaking showed up today. How freaking badass. Like, and they always say to me, oh yeah, I was really nervous. I didn't really want to come. I was like really worried about this. I don't do social events and stuff like this. And I do think the wristbands do help as well. I've had a lot of people say, I like
Mm.
that I can just put a red wristband on and no one will talk to me. um, yeah, so I think it's that autonomy again and feeling safe and making places safe as well. So yeah, it's just lovely having anyone show up, and I just hope that people continue over the years to get help from this group and know that it's okay. So thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with me because yeah, I don't always see the fruits if that's what you want to call it, but it's nice to hear that
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
will be getting something from it.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah, and your workshop as well. I'm so excited about your workshop. I know you've already had a few people sign up as well, so that's really, really good.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And you know, on that as well, if anyone's like, you know, sitting pondering it and a little bit unsure as to whether it's right for them or just like a bit unsure as to if they're going to feel comfortable or not, then do definitely please reach out to me as well. And you know, feel free to slide into my DMs, as they say. And you know, there's no such thing as a stupid question, right? So if you just need some like clarity on something, or you just want to like have a chat with me before the session, if it's gonna you know, relieve some of maybe like any anxiety that you have around it, then please, like that's, you know, that's what I'm here for. But yeah, I'm so excited for it as well. I
Yeah,
can't wait.
it's
Yeah, I don't know. Let's just see what happens. Also, like I am I will like put out a pre-warning right now. I stumble my words all the time. And when I'm like really excited and really energetic, I'm even worse at it. So sometimes I'll say things like, all right, now you got to put your elbow to your nose, or I don't know, something like I'll say like the wrong body part, right? So I just I just want everyone to know that like I am not little Miss Perfect or whatever in the slightest. Like my classes are always about having fun, right? And that's all that I can hope, is that people can just like show up for themselves, number one, show up for yourself. Um, get ready to ignite that absolute like badass that is inside of you. And number three, just to have fun, just to see it as an exploration of what this kind of class can do for you. And if you don't want to come back ever again, that's okay. If you do, then great. But it's just exploring, what could this class possibly do for you?
yeah, I love that. I think that's, yeah, it's so brilliant. So I don't know if you can hear the blooming dogs in the background now barking at each other. Um, yeah, I'm so excited for you, and I know you've made the Google form. We've shared it. I'll share it again, so I'll put it in the description as well if anyone wants to like sign up too. And yeah, I'm just really excited for you.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, sorry, the dogs is just barking because the kids is teasing him across the road, but it's what's nice about living in a community, I guess. Um,
True.
but yeah, thank you for your patience. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to your workshop, really looking forward to hearing how it goes. I know that if anyone has any questions, please reach out to Emma, or me as well.
Mhm.
I don't really know if it's about the workshop, please reach out to Emma. But if you need anything else, we're both here. We're both here to answer questions, to support you, to help empower you. And yeah, I'm super excited. So thank you so much for showing up today, Emma, and giving me your time. Like your time is so valuable, I know. And you've just given us so much time, and it is honestly such a gift. So thank you.
Oh, thank you for just giving me an opportunity to do it. I'm grateful in return for that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I hope to see you at one of my workshops at some point when if we can co-align as well. Um,
Yes, definitely. My schedule's, well, you know, it changes, but it's changed recently to, I think, what should be more in alignment with the workshops of like how the days that they've been on. So,
cool.
yeah, I'm really hoping that I can get there too.
Yeah, it would just be nice to see you. It's just nice like having dinner with everybody and having drinks and like
Right.
when I say
Yeah.
drinks and smoothies, but you know, it's just really nice place to like
Yeah.
catch up and chat and stuff as well. It's just calming.
Yeah, for sure.
Brilliant. Okay, well, enjoy your workshop and I look forward to hearing all about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much,
Thank
Chrissie.
you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much. Okay, bye.
Bye.